Hey guys, we got Ben Miller here, one of the co-founders of SimpleNexus and also one of the owners of Arcasa that we're going to talk a little bit about today. We got Cole Bijan back here in the back, who is the CEO of Arcasa as well. He's going to be asking a few questions of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having us to your place here. Pumped to be here. So we're going to talk about origins and the state of the game. So Jason, you went from a Navy air traffic controller to one of the top originators in the country. What's the through line there? What was your military experience? What from your military experience still shows up in how you run your business today?
I think it's the work ethic, obviously. I think that's one of the things military always say. But the other part of it was, it was pretty unique with the job that I had because we were licensed by the FAA on different control positions. So basically, I could become a tower supervisor as an E4 and E5 when some of the E6s and E7s would struggle actually qualifying for that position. So I found out that by working hard, just really studying the guidelines and everything that I had to, I call it guidelines, but it was the FAA Air Traffic Control Handbook, so same thing. I found out that I could exceed past others that were a higher rank than me, and then I could actually be in charge of them. So it kind of taught me that my merit will pay off if I just outwork the rest of the crew. And it applied to this job. I never thought it would. I think we were just talking about for a few seconds, Ben, about that of just reading the Air Traffic Control Handbook, which is written by attorneys. It's about, they call it the Book of Blood, believe it or not. It's about that thick. Yeah. And then having to speak well, relay information, because you're talking to 20, 30 aircraft at the time, and also just be able to, like you said, herd cats or control the madness, right?
Yeah, get under pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it all transitioned to this. Somehow I got lucky, just one of those things.
The average real estate agent, realtor, works with 17 loan officers. How did you become the one they actually call?
You said the average real estate agent works with about 17 loan officers?
That's national statistics.
So there's a lot of top producers in our industry, and when you look at their production, it's pretty much not very much relationship based. It's very much, if you look, the agents that they work with, there's not very often, it's far and few, maybe kind of like what you're talking about. I base my business on quality. It takes a little bit longer to actually grow sometimes, I think, when you're doing that, because it's not just transactional, it's relationship building. We actually feel like, in the mission with me and the mindset for everybody who works on my team is, we're here to help all these people and change their lives and lift them up, basically. That's our job, right? To the clients, the agents across the board, because a lot of them don't have great opportunities and they're trying to find a way to be entrepreneurs themselves and grow. Yeah. And we all need that we all got to support each other. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. It just makes me think it creates more opportunity too. You know, when you're good to people, when you take care of people, that's an investment. And that comes back around, because they in turn may bring business to you or have some idea or, some kind of inspiration to help build your own business, even though you gave them the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, you've done it several times now at this point, so it's a good feeling, isn't it, when you actually see everybody start, succeeding and taking off and growing together. Yeah. It's the best thing possible.
Yep, yeah, definitely.
Well, Ben, on that note, you had 3 failed startups before SimpleNexus worked. What did those teach you that you couldn't have learned any other way?
Oh yeah, man, it's painful lessons, but something I'd never trade, right? Just like you're talking about, that experience in the military set you up perfectly for success in the mortgage business. Failing at business, failing at startups, taught me lessons that helped me be successful later. I think, namely, first and foremost, it's just the grit and determination that it takes. It's like, if you hit a wall, you got to find a way to bust through it. If you get knocked down, you got to find a way to pick yourself back up. Because nobody else is going to do it for you.
No, I got to applaud you on that too. Like, after 3, some people don't get up after 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're so close to reaching that success. They're one step away from it. They're just like one step
right
away.
there.
Yep. Yeah.
You may not be able to see it, but you're like right there. If you could just get up and go one more inch, make one more phone call, visit one more office, right? Try to make one more sale, and that'll be your big break.
It's betting on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, at the end of the day, just that belief. And one of the things I love is I listen to Jocko every once in a while. You ever listen to Jocko? And like, oh, this happened to you. Good.
Yeah.
This happened to you. Good.
Yeah,
So the best thing that probably happened to you were those three that didn't take off, basically.
Yeah. And you know, throughout those, even though they were, you know, a financial ruin or disaster or whatever, right? They didn't work out. There was definitely successes in there. You know, I was able to see that I could drop into an industry, study hard, work hard, and operate at a high level. It's like, wait a minute, okay, I get this industry. I can understand this, right? Maybe the product market fit wasn't there. Maybe the team wasn't there, or some other element of success wasn't there. But I could see success I was having in different areas. That boosted my confidence and say, you know what, just keep at it, bro. Just keep hacking away. I'll tell you another thing, man, which was really important was I learned a lot about my own self-worth and value as a human being, as a father, as a husband, and in the sense from a religious standpoint of just a child of God, because there was a big weight on my shoulder of not being successfully financially, and having to decouple that from my personal identity.
Like that was your worth.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
No.
So much in our culture,
man.
it's like, hey, how you doing? Like, what do you do? Right? Oh, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer. Like, what is your job? You know, and that's how we connect and define people. Right? Put them in this box.
Right out the gate.
You know?
And I hate that.
Yeah,
That's when you go to those like events and they're doing that. You're just like,
So can you imagine
no.
going to the family reunion? You're like, hey, how you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I live in a van down by the river. You know? Like, yeah.
You know,
the business
I
sucks.
had 3 failed businesses, but I'm getting there.
It's tough.
You know,
Yeah, I'm
like,
getting
and they're
there.
like, oh, great. Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they don't believe.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, there's Susie. I got to go talk to her. Yeah.
but I
Like,
mean,
just in the
honestly,
corner.
sometimes that look in their eyes
Oh,
that you see
yeah.
is the greatest thing ever, because I'm like, I just throw a chip on my shoulder immediately.
Totally.
Like,
Man.
okay, fine.
I'm gonna
watch.
win.
Just
I'm
watch.
gonna win. You just watch me. But what gave me strength was knowing, hey, even though this failed, my wife still loves me, right? My kids still think I'm dad, right? They depend on me. They love me, right? You know, I have a Father in heaven that's looking out for me, helping me, giving me strength, and that helped me know that no matter what failures I'm facing, you know, financially, there's still energy, there's still worth. I can still fight and, you know, scrap and just get after it. And that's not what defines success. And now when you've experienced a little bit of financial success, I think it helped it not go to my head as much. Right?
No, 100%.
To say, bro, I remember where I came from, right? And this wealth doesn't necessarily define me of who I am. Don't get me wrong, it's nice.
No, it's nice.
Fun to have nice things,
it
you know,
is very nice.
but it doesn't define me. And that was a big deal also. But yeah, just totally the chip on the shoulder, man, just really competitive. And, you know, I love to compete in business, you know, and I love to win in business and prove all the doubters wrong and whatnot. So in high school, I was in the Future Farmers of America Club.
Okay,
right?
that's awesome.
FFA,
I want this in there.
Right? So, and I hang with that crowd, you know, and I was known as the farmer kid or whatever. Graduating, didn't really have much direction, you know, on college and stuff. And I go see a guidance counselor. She looks me up and down. She's like, college? Like, hold on a second. Like, and opens a drawer and pulls out some pamphlets. I think maybe welding would work for you, or auto body.
Talking about classifying right out the gate.
Handed me the pamphlets to the tech college, you know, they're like, yo, why don't you study, you know, welding or something, or auto body? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I want to go to college, you know, but like definitely took that. That was like one of the first chips on my shoulder. I remember. I'm like, you know, this person looked at me and said, you're not going to amount to much, man, in the whole college thing or professional thing. And I'm like, I'll show you.
And there's too many people that don't do the I show you afterwards. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. It's hard. Because you can take that, it's easier in the short term. It's easier to say, okay, I'm going to internalize that, whatever, I'm a failure, or this is only what I can do. And it limits you for the rest of your life. The pain will last much longer, right? It's harder to say, you know what, you know, you're doubting me, that hurts, but I'm gonna, you know, pull up the bootstraps or whatever. I'm gonna get tough and just go figure it out. You know?
Being a man of God is important too. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade, so there's no better way to kind of ruin that a little bit when you're going through that regimen, man. But my wife brought me back to that again. It's the best thing ever happened to me. And it's funny you talk about, like, you know, finding your worth without it having to be through your success with your career or money or whatever it is, because my industry's full of it. And it almost pains me sometimes to see it, because they judge each other by the numbers they produce. That's the worst thing.
That's sales culture, man.
And it's just, and sometimes when I see those guys, I want to give them a hug almost. Where I'm just like, no, man, there's more to this.
So much more. To
honestly, there's so much more to this. And that was the crash for me. I was all about making numbers and money and everything else. And then when the crash happened, it's that big reset for everybody. It became about, I actually love this job. So let's find how to do this. Yeah, why I want to do this. Let's be passionate about helping other people. I think my worth hopefully will be judged one day. Like if I have a funeral, a bunch of people show up and go, "This guy made a difference in my life."
Cool guy.
That's I made a difference in their lives, basically. That's my goal.
Because I'll tell you who ain't going to show up is your banker or whatever, your tax man or whatever. It's like they don't care. Like
all those trophies, none of those are going to be there. They're not going to stick those on your coffin. You know what I mean? No, none of that stuff. No.
Yeah. They're like, dang it, I got to find another client now. So and so died.
I want that like real estate agent that we help launch his career and help him out, or even like a client just to show up with their family and be like,
this room's full of LOs that you help mentor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The new people that you're like, man, he gave me a break and he showed me the ropes and he helped me understand how to do this, and totally.
I think that whole finding your worth by all that holds you back more than anything else. I think it's like a giant weight that you're carrying around all the time, and it's got to be in your subconscious. I'm a firm believer of like that kind of stuff just drags you down. You don't even know it. Yeah.
100%.
What else you got, Cole?
So Ben, this kind of goes to both of you guys, but when you joined SimpleNexus in 2011, the industry wasn't exactly begging for a mobile-first mortgage technology. It did eventually sell to Encino for over $1 billion. How do you know when the market is ready for what you're building versus when you're just early?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's an age-old challenge for entrepreneurs, for folks trying to build businesses. It's like introducing new technologies. You can be too early to a market, right? Endless examples of that in technology, and for us, within mortgage, you didn't necessarily have people saying, I gotta have a mobile app. But you did have an overall macro trend of the iPhone, like changing the way people thought about phones and changing the way people interacted with mobile. And this is in, Matt Hansen, the original founder of SimpleNexus, he saw this and understood the power of mobile that you had, again, in a macro sense or surrounding the industry or in other industries, taking something that was working from here and dropping it into another place over here. And so when Matt brought a mobile app to the industry, it took off like fire. I mean, it was like, it's a really funny story. Matt's brother-in-law's a loan officer, and actually talked to him about it. He's like, hey man, could you help me build this calculator? And maybe, if it was in like this mobile app and it had my picture on it, it could be a digital
simple like that.
card. Yeah. And he's like, Matt's like, I could probably do that on a weekend, sure, let's go knock it out, and because that's how it works. Get a developer a case of Red Bull in a weekend, and boom, bada bing, bada boom, right? Magic. But he builds his app for him, and then everybody in the branch wanted one. They're like, dude, I gotta have this. Is so awesome. And so that's when you have something product market fit, when the customer's coming to you and like begging for one, right? And so he builds one for that whole branch. And then the funny part is, like, we get together for a big family dinner one Sunday or something. Matt's mom is also a loan officer, and his brother-in-law is talking about how awesome this app is, and she's like, hold on, like, wait a minute, like, what are we talking about mobile app? They're like, where's my mobile app? Like, I brought you into this world, son. My mobile app.
You haven't shared this with me yet?
So he's like, okay, mom, I'll get you one like this afternoon. And so he makes one for her, but she was in a completely different branch and company, and then all of those people wanted one. And so then it took off from there. And so again, it's not necessarily that the mortgage industry was saying, hey, we have to have this, but it was taking technology that was flourishing in the consumer world and in other industries and using that application within mortgage that's traditionally held back from innovation because of regulation, very highly regulated. A lot of security constraints and whatnot. Just in general, mortgage is several years behind other cutting edge technologies. Right?
Still are. When the crash happened with the Dodd-Frank and everything, it put so many shackles on. And then the other part is, so many people are opposed to change on the sales side of things. And And they don't even, I think it was, they weren't begging for it, but they didn't realize what they needed. And then it showed up and they're like, wait a second.
Like, gotta have this.
Yeah, I gotta have this.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's human nature, right? I mean, having, worked in technology and mortgage for a while, ran into so many people that were just like, you're going to pry this notepad, pen and paper out of my dead hands, I'm like, dude, you said it. Like, you are going to die, in this industry if you can't evolve and change, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Constantly have to change.
It's the craziest thing. Like, I even do a lot of social media. I wish it was better, but I try my best on it. And there's so many people in my industry that won't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, something that rang through to me, I heard one time, was like, best known beats best.
Yeah.
And I always thought I was so good at this job.
Yeah.
And then I see these other guys doing more business than me, and it just like, it flipped that chip on my shoulder back on again, where I'm like, wait a second. Yep. So then I start doing that, and it's just crazy how so many people don't want to adapt in this industry. Like, I'm 47. I love when they bring new tech on. I'm trying to figure out how to use it. I try to be a student and like a kid, basically, and have that open, mindset of just like, okay, how is this going to work, and be curious all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure you see it all the time.
Well, that's the thing. We call it an intellectual curiosity. And it makes me sound more grown up.
I like that.
I have an intellectual curiosity. I'm always trying to see that.
I like that.
How can I improve?
I like that. That's a good one. Yeah. No, it's our industry. It's just a lot of them don't want to embrace the change. I'm glad you guys brought that product out too. That made a big difference in our industry. You guys had the forefront on that.
Yeah, totally. And went on to change an industry, change how people interact with their realtor, with their loan officer, with other parties, so to say, that have transparent, easy communication, mobile. Dude, we were giving people their lives back. We would have loan officers that would come in on the weekends because they had to make sure that deal progressed, right? And I'll never forget, we got a letter from a top producer's wife thanking us for giving them their weekends back.
Really?
He said, my husband now can come with us to the beach, and he's not like finding an excuse by 10 o'clock in the morning to have to run back into the office for the rest of the day.
He's just looking on his iPhone instead of his BlackBerry.
Yeah. He's like pulls out his phone, sends out a pre-approval letter, updates a loan, runs a calculation, puts the phone back in the pocket, and is back present with the family. And that's the world we live in. It's like, I mean, people are hitting you up all the time. Where's my loan, this or that or whatever. And it will run 24/7 if you want it to.
Yeah.
Like, it will be there nonstop. And so having the tools and technology to be able to still experience a life outside of having to be in these four walls, right? And like, look, I can still, progress deals and do my job, but I can, kind of cut loose and take a break and whatever, be away physically from the office, which is important for your
It's
health,
a long stretch from the carbon copy 1003s and the stacks of files up on your desk like this. I remember a brief moment of that. I wasn't in it for too long. It started changing, but like it was kind of crazy just having stacks of files. And then when everybody went paperless, everybody was like, "No, I don't want to do that." You're like,
where's
what?
the paper? Like, I got
like
the
seriously,
paper.
I'm happy. Like, get rid of this. That was the best thing I ever saw. No, dude, that was awesome, bro.
Oh man. What was so rewarding about SimpleNexus is being able to change an industry, change how people do business, right? And that's one of the things that really attracted me to Arcasa. I think a lot of people, like, solar's not a new thing, been around for decades, right? And I think a lot of people have experience with folks coming and knocking on your door and trying to sell you solar or whatever. And sometimes that's a real negative experience. They're like, man, something's broken about this industry. Like, the concept and the product is amazing. Like, cleaner energy, more energy independence, don't have to worry about blackouts and stuff or high spiking energy bills and whatnot. A lot of good things about it. But the way it was delivered, marketed and delivered, and in turn financed, was just, we thought there could be a better way. Right?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
The industry has a black eye on it when it never should have had the black eye on it. Just like with mortgage. They had to come in, regulate the hell out of us when the crash happened. A lot of that was necessary. Some of it went too far. But it's, the guys that are selling the solar, they're going around making extra money, overcharging for it, but you guys realize you saw a solution in the space to come in, fix this where clients aren't being overcharged, and then help unlock their ability to get down payment assistance to be able to like now become a homeowner at the same time and save it. It's going to change things.
It's great. I mean, having had a great run at SimpleNexus, a life-changing business transaction, affords me now the opportunity to, mentor and invest in other businesses, but really just do whatever I want to do when I wake up in the morning, right? I don't have to necessarily like go clock in every day because we've been afforded that blessing in our lives, so to say. But it's really powerful to me to what I focus on. I mean, I'm not going to interact with a company that doesn't have the potential to change an industry or change a group of people for the better. Like I just don't need it in my life, right? So I could be doing other things. And so that's what's really exciting about Arcasa is like, wow, man, this thing really helps deliver the product in a more efficient and effective way, but it has the opportunity to turn an industry on its head, to disrupt an industry. And like, that's what we did with SimpleNexus, right? And that's very, very exciting.
I think your timing couldn't be more perfect, to be honest, because there's a lot of solar companies that are struggling right now. We've seen a couple go under.
Oh, totally.
And I number one, I don't know how they messed up some of those models. I don't know how they did it. You know what I mean? Obviously that always gets them. But I think your timing couldn't be more perfect with that because you can come in. Some of these companies are now going away, and you can actually just change the
fill a
face of what it
void
is.
and change your distribution model. Totally.
What is it? Find a need, fill a need. Basically, that's what I love about entrepreneurs like you. Is you sit back. And you've got this like grandstand view where you're looking back and you're like, wait a second, I see the hole here, and then you're trying to fill it basically.
Yes, totally. And that's the way, and again, young company, we're scaling, we're growing, and it's not about, hey, how much money can we make on one transaction, but it's more so, how can we change an industry? How can we scale to nationwide, and the money will follow. Right? You build a good business, you take care of people, and good things happen. The good things follow when they happen. And so, Matt and I and the others at SimpleNexus, we understood that, we experienced that. That's why we're mentoring Cole and the crew here to try to build a great company, do good, change lives, and good things will follow. Yeah, always. When your intentions are right and you're not being too greedy, just like those other companies, which you guys are not. You guys are fantastic the way with you treat clients and price things out. It's gonna follow. I tell you, on a side note, like, what it does for the consumer, what it does for that borrower is very, very exciting. I say we, others, anyone who was in mortgage over let's just say a decade, even 5 years, they've seen the asset prices just jump tremendously. Like the cost of housing is incredible, right? The affordability crisis is just crazy. And those are really, really hard problems. I mean, there's a lot of smart people trying to figure it out. And look, I don't have that much money I can't. You can't save everybody. I can't save everybody. I can't bring the price of the housing down. I can't change interest rates or whatnot. But this is an amazing tool that helps so many people that are just right there. Like, look, I just need a little bit more assistance to get into this house. And it's an amazing tool to help make that transaction happen. But more so, help make it happen with a greater chance of success after the transaction. We see so many people get stretched so thin to get into a house, and they're like putting every single penny down. Everything they saved. Everything they have. Everything. And then, like 3 months in, the water heater goes out. You're like, I'm done. Like, I don't have any money, right? You're not only saving the money out of pocket, but then you're saving them monthly too. And this is why I love this thing. That's why I pushed so hard to get it here at CCM when you guys came to us. I mean, I got really lucky. I think it was Sean from Arrive Home that put us all together. And then we just hit it off. Here we are. And it's amazing to know that you can help someone that's working so hard to make this American dream happen, and give them not only get them across the finish line, but give them a greater chance of success going forward. And say, hey, look, you can keep some of that money, in your pocket. Let the down payment assistance help you get into the home so that you're better prepared, to after the transaction to handle whatever comes, and it's super rewarding. Having that driving force of like, just creating value, trying to help people out. Again, I go back to, life's just too short to be doing anything else. Yeah, it really is. It's the other problem with a lot of the other down payment assistance programs, and I love them too. I do those as well, but the way it's set up is, obviously the mortgage company can't provide the down, so then you have to go through these federal entities or approved nonprofits or whatever it is, and they set the rate. Well, there's a way that they're making their money back, of course.
In this situation, it's a market rate. It's
That's
regular
huge.
FHA.
That's huge, man.
It's a huge game changer. I mean, we've done a ton of these now,
Yeah.
so they're pretty
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, we love it. We love your partnership. We love your
you
leadership
too.
in it, man.
Thanks,
it's been
man.
great.
Jason, you're in the trenches every day. Are these numbers matching up with what you're seeing? And what's changed about the typical buyer walking through your door?
Cautiousness. I think I'm dealing with more cautious first-time home buyers than ever. The word crash still comes up from time to time, but it's not going to happen. I'm not just one of those loan officers saying that. It's just, if they've got the guardrails built in with the guidelines that people actually have to qualify this time around. Yes, the prices went up a lot, but it's not the same type of inflation on the inventory. Before, when the rates were lower and everybody qualified, it was an influx of tons of buyers that probably shouldn't be buying homes. That created the inventory problem. We just have an inventory problem, period, right now.
Yeah.
The builders are still not building as fast as they should be or want to. And it's just getting tougher for home buyers. If the rates go down too far, I'm a little worried about what's going to happen again. I really am. Like I as a loan officer, I should be excited about that, but at the same time, it's hard to see a lot of first-time home buyers and everybody else being so cautious and worried about it. The caution is the biggest thing I see right now, and just thank God the rates are going down some, because a lot of clients were just maxed out. You're having to put multiple family members on just to be able to qualify. And that was the hardest part. That's why I'm happy about this product coming in, just because it makes it affordable by a few $100s a month. It's a big difference than most of the other programs out there.
Yeah. The difference in being able to close or not, be able to get into a home or not.
Or even just fathom the ability to be able to do it. Because when you look at the numbers, it's daunting for a lot of those clients out there. They're like, I got to pay a 6-7% rate on these other products over here just to get into a house and I don't have a down payment. And then they just give up. And there's been a lot of that over the last couple of years.
Over your career as an originator, are people thinking more about operational costs, utility costs, insurance, taxes? Is that more part of the conversation? Should it be more part of the conversation? What does that think in your world?
I think that's a great question, and also a great perspective of where energy costs are going to be going. With all these AI centers and everything going up, I think I saw a post from Bernie Sanders recently. He wanted to put a moratorium on the production of them and just stop them, which I get it, man, but at the same time, like it's not going to happen. And, also the AI is going to create a lot of other opportunities where you might actually see less cars on the road. You might actually see less travel because now some of the jobs can be from home, or there's going to be a lot of opportunities. I think it's very like a small lens that he's looking through with that. I think the conversation needs to happen with clients, and because the way I handle transactions and I teach my team is to be an advisor. And you actually just made a really good point with how much the energy costs are going to be going up, that why wouldn't you want to start generating your own at this point in time? And then your savings are pretty much fixed at that point in time. Like your electric bill is fixed in for the most part by doing so. I personally, as I've grown older and everything else, I like my money going to less people as possible. So if I'm able to come off the grid somehow as much as I can, I think it's a great feeling. So, everybody wants financial freedom. Why wouldn't you want the freedom from having to pay some of these large electric companies and then also just having them increase the prices on you too? So that actually will change the conversation for me going forward. That's a great point.
Totally, and really talking in specifically about as they build data centers and they have such an insatiable demand and appetite for energy, how does that in turn affect the grid, affect the cost of electricity, for the everyman, for us in my house and whatever, right? It's kind of like intimidating because, like you mentioned, the pace of innovation is not slowing down. It is incredible, the scale of investment and what's happening there. And again, that's what I like so much about what we're doing and what we're doing together is helping people get into a home, but also helping them have some predictability and relief around the energy prices. Being able to generate your own energy and lock in, you mentioned this notion of locking in savings, that's on today's picture of what energy costs and it's only going up. So it's only going to get better and better.
They're
like
going to have to
savings.
build more support, more infrastructure to be able to supply the energy, and there's going to be a cost to that. So it's just going to get worse.
Totally, and utilities are raising prices around the country to be able to pay for these giant infrastructure projects and whatnot. And so yes, that's another just aspect of what helps me feel good about what we're doing. It's something that I've done in my own house, to put solar on the house, to be able to have more of an energy independence feeling, and relief from any kind of increases in the future from what energy costs. Because it's like, it's a changing world, and you're kidding yourself if you're like, oh well, can we just go back to the way it was, right? Or maybe it won't change that much. Like, that is the only constant in life, is change. Right?
Yeah, and it's going to happen. The price is going to go up. It's just like when a sports team wants to build a new stadium and they start raising your taxes to pay for the stadium. It's the same thing with your electric bill. It's going to go up. You're going to get charged. Like, everything gets more expensive for you, unfortunately.
That is the way it works.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to slow down and speed up. And I think the bigger problem, and I'm sure you've seen this in sales and originators across the board, is they're so eager to get out there and start making money and start closing deals and getting those numbers and patting yourself on your back and getting your little trophies. At the end of the day, is sometimes you're taking these big steps when you should be taking smaller steps, because in order to build a sustainable business, you have to make sure you have the quality, and knowing every position in our industry, have an appreciation for it, knowing the guidelines and the knowledge, that's everything. That's the key to all of this. And there's too many people out there. There was a as brokers became a thing with us, it became a diluting down of our industry. And I'm not knocking brokers. There's plenty of them out there. But it was like, I'm the cheapest, I'm the fastest, but you only know 10% of what you're supposed to know. So you hit a home run every once in a while. You get an easy client. You knock it out of the park, or whatever it is. It's just too many people in the industry want that instant gratification, and this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. And the reason I've been able to grab so much market share in the last couple of years is because of those individuals, where as soon as they trip up, I'm gaining that relationship with that real estate agent by either saving the deal and having the know-how with me and my team, or whatever it is. So a lot of them need to understand that knowledge pays and experience pays way more than those upfront benefits that you're going to get by trying to make those quick commissions. So be willing to be mentored, be willing to pay for coaching, be willing to be more humble, and not think you're the best because you just sold a deal and you closed a deal and you're just like puffing your chest walking around. Just go into this with a humble heart and realize that you don't know everything and you need to know everything. Yeah.
From my experience, it's just kind of entrepreneurship in general, right? How do you build a business? And what are the key qualifications, key factors, key characteristics? And you mentioned humility. I'd put that as definitely a top characteristic, in that when you're coming into a new space, you're trying to build something, you really don't know anything. You got a lot of energy, you got a lot of excitement. You're like, hey, I want to do this, right? Be willing to be mentored, man. Be willing to admit you don't know it all, or you can't do it all. So definitely that humility, the grit and determination, man. It's hard work. We do our generations, right, such a disservice with a lot of the instant gratification that's out there, right? Our phones are training us to every 5 seconds have something cool to look at or something, right?
Yeah.
And to build something amazing like this, it takes years, right? It takes a lot of hard work, man.
I would say short-term emotions, long-term memory. So the way I think of it is you have to let go of that feeling of failing real quick and learn from it, because too many people dwell in that.
Yeah. I mean, you see that in sports, right? You throw an interception, you're gonna have to go right back out there when you get the ball back on the offense. It's like you got to forget about that last throw and go down and score. Same thing with business. Oh my goodness, in sales especially. You're interacting with folks, and you're gonna get a lot of rejection. You're gonna get a lot of angry folks. And but you have to remember those where it worked out, those people that you changed their lives, that you made this dream come true, and let that drive you, and not dwell on the rejection, not dwell on, oh, I couldn't get it done, or whatever, right? So you have to have the ability to have that long-term memory, right? To say, yep, I remember, why am I doing this?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
what's the reason for the passion? You know, let it drive you.
It's I always think about. I know this sounds silly, but it's just funny. I always the first thing I think of with what you just said is, you ever seen that guy? He walking around the bar asking every girl for their phone number.
Yeah.
She's like no. She's like no. She's like no. Oh, this one said yes. And you're like, how did you get her phone number? And he doesn't care. He's just going forward. And it's just like that with business. You have to almost do the exact same thing, especially when you're building something like entrepreneur. Like so many people are going to be adverse, and then eventually you're going to get that yes, and then all of a sudden you have this mom who's a loan officer going, wait a second, where's my app? And then all of a sudden her branch wants it, and then all of a sudden you're just like, wait a second, it's about to take off.
Yeah, it's taking off. Totally. Yeah, and really another thing when I coach entrepreneurs is just really trying to understand, why are you doing this, right? You mentioned the LOs, the brand new LOs coming in, they're like, oh, I gotta have the quick success because I wanna have the nice car, or I wanna live in the cool house, or I wanna have the fancy this or that, or whatever, right? Like, bro, this doesn't come overnight, right?
No.
You know, this is hard work. And if you're in it just for the money, you're not gonna last, right?
No.
That's not gonna be enough drive to take all of that rejection, to take all of that failure and keep going. Like, this is for the birds, I'm gonna do something else.
There's no passion behind it if it's just
passion.
for the money. And then the other thing is too, is in my industry, I see this so much, is as soon as it gets hard, they get out. And then as soon as rates drop, they get back in.
They want to jump in.
And you just lost 2 or 3 years of experience because I think you learned probably more from the struggles than you did any of the success.
Oh, yeah.
And these guys are missing on 2 or 3 years of experience through struggling. Like Jocko says, good, you struggled. Like, you know what I mean? Like, good.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
You should get a trophy for that, right?
I know.
No, let me tell you. After having so much failure business-wise, right? And then being in an opportunity to partner with an amazing human being, and Matt Hansen and the others that helped us build SimpleNexus, right? And us tasting a little bit of success, it was so precious. It was so precious, man. And I try to tell this to other entrepreneurs when they start to see some success. I'm like, dude, you just don't even know what you have, right?
Yeah.
You don't know how precious this is, right?
Yes.
You better be leaning in with everything you have, because it's not always that way, right? The battlefield is littered with bodies of folks that tried and failed. Like they bet it all on red, and we're gonna make this business work, right? And do all the things they need to do, because you have to be all in to win also. You gotta be all in. And it failed. And they're like, I got nothing to show for it. And so when that product market fit comes, when that right time, right place to be able to have alignment and success, you just gotta take life by the horns and lean in and treat it with respect, you know?
You know, you guys sold SimpleNexus for a ton of money. Like, you guys did really good. And you didn't even mention that as your success. What I like about what you said, and I mean this 100%, you brought up that mom and those other guys and those small wins. And for me, those are the ones that still play like a reel in my head from time to time. And especially when you're struggling, sometimes that all of a sudden, like, this memory pops up from nowhere, and you're like, this is what I needed today. Yeah, that's pretty cool you did that. I actually like that a lot.
No, it's funny you point that out. I mean, because that's just the way it is. Like, you know, the treasured moments are the relationships I had with people, being in the trenches, you know, working all weekend for something, and then being able to have, you know, land that deal or whatever. Dude, seeing someone, and again, who knows if we use this content or not, whatever. We made some money with this transaction. I say we, as in the founders, people who made the most money are private equity companies, right? Okay, now here a real serious thing. One of the most beautiful things from the transaction of selling SimpleNexus was being able to see the amount of millionaires that we minted within the company, and the lives that we changed all the way down to the person that had been there 6 months.
What was it like telling them?
It was incredible. I mean, people are coming, it fundamentally changed their lives. We had stories, and, you know, like, this gets personal, right? But like, of course it changed our life, right, from a financial standpoint. But we have people telling us, they're like, you know, we have this terminal illness that we've been fighting with this family member, and it's like depleted our bank account. And this is like an answer to prayer. Like, I'm like, dude, I just feel silly for having, you know, money in my bank when I don't have these types of struggles. Like, these people. And it was so amazing to hear these types of stories of how it just changed people's lives. And that is what I'm proud of with creating SimpleNexus, right? With Matt Hansen, Dave Stevenson, with Jim Harrison, all these other folks, right? Is the way we change an industry, but also the way we change people's lives for good, right? And it's just incredible. Just an incredible blessing to be part of. And because you never know, man. You never know what folks are going through out there, right? You can walk up to anybody in this office, and at least half the time, there's somebody that's going to be going through some hard stuff, some like tough stuff, you know. And it's just amazing to be an instrument in God's hands, so to say, to try to change your life for the better in some form or fashion.
See, it's a rarity to see people like you. It really is. There's a lot of people that run businesses, and they're there just to meet that bottom line and make that extra money. And that's why I'm glad I asked you that question, man. Because to see you get emotional like that about helping those people, that's the kind of stuff that gets me going. I was raised by a single mom. I was 2 of 3 families from my father.
Yeah. She
was on disability and food stamps. We used to go to the 99-cent bread store with a day old and all that kind of stuff. And I was always called. My mom had a guy in the house, a stepdad. He told me I was stupid. I was too dumb to drive. Like, it's not a sob story. Yeah. And the feeling of like being overlooked and not feeling like you have opportunities in life is that's giving that to others. Mm-hmm. There's no better, especially as a man. I think, being a man of God like yourself and me, I think being providers is the strongest thing we can do as a man, period, for others in our family. And being able to do that for your work family and change their lives is, it's pretty dang cool, man. Yeah. It's just, I want to turn every one of these people working for me into success, a branch manager, or a top producer, whatever it is they want to do. It's cool, man.
Yeah.
You don't meet many people like you anymore. It's a good thing.
You're that person, right?
I appreciate that.
You're feeling it. That it's the failures that I experienced in business helped me develop an empathy, right? When somebody comes in, sits down across from the desk from you, and they're like, they seem disheveled or flustered or whatever. You're like, bro, what's going on? Why can't you concentrate? Or whatever? Yeah. Just hit me with it. And they start to open up a little bit. Like it's hard to have empathy if you haven't been there, man. Mm-hmm. We've been there. We understand. Like I was just, talking to my wife the other day because one of my kids wanted some LeBron James basketball shoes, whatever. I'm like, you're crazy how much those cost. And I was talking to my wife, I was like, man, I remember being in school and getting a new pair of basketball shoes because this kid had worn them out and threw them away. I'm like, oh, dude, are you done with those? Yeah. You're not going to use those anymore? Yeah. And he's like, no, man, I threw them away. I'm like, can I have those? And he's like, sure. And I put them on, I felt like $1 million. Mm-hmm. I felt like, man, these are like legit Michael Jordan. They might be 5 years old.
I remember seeing kids get Jordans, the same thing. Yeah, man.
I was like, but dude, I felt amazing. I was like, man, I got some Jordans, they got holes in them.
Nobody's going to know because they get worn out anyway, so nobody will know. I don't have to tell anybody.
But it's like, until you've been there, man, it's hard to have that empathy. And so I do feel a great stewardship with that and feel it has blessed and enhanced my life. Try to just stay grounded, man. Stay humble and try to connect with people, and because that is a for myself at least a tremendous source of my own fulfillment and joy, is to try to be that catalyst, that instrument, try to help somebody else out, because so many people helped us out along the way. Mm-hmm. So many people, we have so many great mentors that took a chance on us, and when we're fighting and scrapping and battling, and they're like, hey man, here's a little bit of advice, or let me make this introduction for you, or whatever, and it really made a difference, for our business and whatnot, and I'd like to try to do that for somebody else too.
Yeah, I've had some really important mentors in my life. Even one of the real estate companies I work with, AZ, that runs it over there, he he built a business like us where he's just fulfilling himself through that stewardship of just bringing these people up.
Yeah.
And it's, being around people like that give you like that one opportunity or whatever it is. It's just, you got to pay it back.
Yeah.
You have to give it to everybody else. It's there's just no better
And
feeling.
the reality
for me.
is good things happen. Good things will happen because of it, right? It's like you get paid twice. You get paid in the sense of, having the fulfillment and the joy of helping somebody, but then all of a sudden, like, good things come to you.
Yeah, the
because of
business
it,
starts succeeding, you start making money.
Yeah.
I like men like us. I think it's the most important thing is you've got to have some emotional and physical scars, and all the ups and downs of wearing 3 to 5 year old Jordans
Shoes,
from somebody else or whatever it is. Like, we wouldn't be able to recognize that in our staff, like you're saying, and be able to pick up on that. With that, because you have that empathy and you can see it sometimes coming, and you almost know where the conversation's going to go, and it feels good when you start leading them to where they need to be afterwards too.
Yep. And you're like, it's okay, I've been there, because there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of shame in, like, when you're down on your luck and stuff, It's like, but have somebody be like, hey, look, it's okay, it's okay.
Make them realize their worth without it being through financial, like you said earlier.
Yeah. Sure enough.
When you're selling any product, loan product, you have to educate and you have to educate different people in the process, right? You're educating the end consumer and selling them, pitching them, advocating for them, the real estate agent, and there's other people also involved in that. Jason, a product like this, how do you, from a consumer, your client point of view, but then also your partners, real estate agents, how do you bring this up? How do you sell it?
The first thing I like to look at, too many people with sales just go for the easy route where they're just gonna, oh, this is great, this is great, and this is great. I like to look at every objection they would have first, and then I go at every one of those objections, and I go at why this is better, right? And also I want them to feel educated on the alternatives at the same time before I even get into the product itself. I'm gonna identify all those pain points when I'm talking to the customer. I'm gonna go, explain how the process works, because they most consumers don't know. And even real estate agents, they don't know. There's a ton of them in our state. They don't know, and some don't want to know, but the really good ones do want to know. And that's who I want to work with, are the ones that want to be educated and understand. And you have to break it down just on a fundamental level of, like, okay, let's talk about the government regulations first. Like, for example, with this product, with FHA, the lender can't provide the down payment assistance, right? So then we have to go through these entities that are appointed by HUD and allowed to. So, and I name off those, and I say, okay, here's the good and the bad of those. This works completely different. This is a model where you're going to unlock down payment assistance through financing the solar on the property with a nonprofit, basically, or a federal entity, basically, that's going to be able to supply this. And you're going to save money, because in this situation, you're now not having to go through these other groups that are now setting the interest rates. And I'll explain to you, I can even send you the websites where the rates are listed for them. So that way it's not just me saying it. So that way, if you talk to another lender and they start selling you on this product, well, then you can actually question them, okay, what is the interest rate on that product, right? Because a lot of times they don't even tell the consumer. That's the crazy thing about it. So with something like this, I just want to take every objection out of their mouth first, and then get into the positive points of it. And that's usually how I handle it. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I love how you started it. It's so funny, this direct application and how we sold software is, I need to understand where you're coming from. I need to understand what objections you might have, and then overlaying what we can bring to the table, say, hey, this is how I can solve these things that you're working against, right? Or whatever the things we have to overcome to be able to get you into a home. Here's all the different tools I have. And that consultative approach, especially, right? I mean, there's, like you said, there's too many LOs that are like, oh, it's got to be this or this, and no one wants to be just like, talk to. They want a partner. They want an advisor, a financial advisor. Like, talk me through this and help me understand as we go. Don't just tell me what to do, type thing. And then you have just a lot, better buy-in. And this is the largest transaction they're probably going to make in their whole entire life, right?
Yeah.
You know, their home.
90% of the
Yeah.
people, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so it's a big deal, and they want to feel comfortable. They want to understand their options. They want to look at different, pathways to get into a home, and then being able to highlight things like being able to have lower utility bills, be able to have more energy independence, but also be able to bring down payment assistance at a market rate. I mean, that's insane. That's huge, and a huge advantage.
And now you're energy efficient, and you're locking in your energy bill for the most part,
Yes.
compared to when they're going to keep raising it.
Totally. And then there's kind of like outliers or different scenarios where we've seen a lot of success where you can in essence unstuck a loan, so to say, where somebody maybe they found a property and everything's going well, and then all of a sudden inspection comes back and the roof's bad. And the seller's like, well, I ain't paying for that. The buyer's like, well, I've used all my money for the down payment. I can't pay for that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they're stuck, but with solar, you can wrap that roof repair into it. It needs to be a structurally sound roof to be able to put solar on it. You can wrap that into the deal and be able to rescue that deal.
And now they have a roof that's good for what, 20, 30, 40 years, I don't know, depending on there. We've done that for a lot of clients already with this product and everything as well. Just rolling that in, and the cost associated with it is next to nothing, specifically because now they're financing over time.
Yeah, so you can amortize it. Yeah,
Yeah,
over
and
time,
it's just,
so.
I mean, that's what a lot of people do with their money anyways.
Yeah.
They're even more well off than most of our clients anyways, is they're going to
Yeah.
leverage their assets basically to do something with it.
Yep.
So, and this gives them the ability to do so. Yeah, it's a great product.
Great.
Yeah. Well, Ben, thanks, man. I
Hey,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
It's been a pleasure meeting you,
It's been a
man.
lot of fun,
Yeah,
man.
a lot of fun.